Hello everyone, myself Dr. Kirti Mathur. I am MPT Musculoskeletal. Today I am going to take the topic SD curve or strength duration curve from the electrotherapy. So strength duration curve, when we are talking about strength, so you have to remember what is strength. Strength is the strength of the stimulus and duration is the duration of the stimulus. So why we are drawing a SD curve? So it shows the interdependence between stimulus strength and the time required in activating the muscles, and it indicates the strength of impulses of various durations required to produce muscle contractions by joining the points that graphically represent the threshold value along the ordinates for various durations. So basically we have to understand why we are drawing SD curve. SD curve is the simplest method to know whether a muscle is innervated, denervated or partially innervated, and this is a simple method. We don't need very high tech machinery to draw an SD curve, and we are just using a muscle stimulator to draw this SD curve, and we'll know that whether a muscle is innervated, denervated or partially innervated. And whenever we are drawing a graph, we need two things: one component variable on the x-axis and another one variable on the y-axis. So here we are taking duration on the x-axis. Time or duration is always taken on the x-axis and it comes in milliseconds here. And while we are talking about the variable on the y-axis, it will be either potential or current, and this depends on the type of stimulator used. For example, if we are using a constant voltage stimulator, so the variable will be current. If we are using a constant voltage stimulator, variable will be current, and if we are using a constant current stimulator, then variable will be potential on the y-axis, and the unit will be either milliseconds or millivolts. Now coming on to the advantages. So advantage is this, that this is very simple method, it is reliable and it shows a proportion of denervation. It is simple because we are not needing any multiple high technique things to draw a graph, and we don't need special techniques, special instruments. And second, it is reliable because we can come to know about a proportion of denervation. Now coming on to the disadvantages, basically this is used in large muscles. Disadvantages that in large muscles it cannot show the full picture, but only a proportion of muscle fibers can be stimulated. Show it. And second disadvantage is it cannot show the site of lesion. So what if we are drawing a SD curve for a small muscle, it will be appropriate, but if we are thinking to draw it about for a large muscle like quadriceps or hamstrings, then the accuracy will be minimized. So it is perfect for the small muscles but not perfect for the larger ones. And second one, it does not show the exact site of lesion. It does not show the exact site of lesion. If we are going to know about the site of lesion, then NCV will be the perfect method. Then timing of STC. Whenever there is a nerve injury, it can be either neuropraxia, neurotomesis or axonotomesis. So depending on the type of injury, severity will be affected. So whenever we are drawing a graph, we have to wait for at least 10 to 14 days after the injury, because regeneration starts after 2 weeks. So the degeneration of nerve from the proximal to the distal is called Wallerian degeneration, and when the motor end plate is no longer functioning, it is done weekly, and we draw this SD curve weekly under the same conditions, and decision has been reached on the eventual final state of the muscle. So STC is used to identify denervation, partial innervation and compression. So how we'll draw a SD curve? What is the exact method of drawing a SD curve? First of all, we have to identify the muscle, and we'll put the active electrode over the muscle belly and an active electrode near proximal to the joint. For example, if we are going to draw a SD curve for the opponent's pollicis muscle, whose function is to perform the opposition of the thumb, we will first palpate the muscle. And how you will palpate the muscle? Will first do opposition function, so the muscle bulk will be visible, and then we'll mark the center part of the muscle, that is the point of the that is the motor point of the muscle. So active electrode will be used over the motor point, and for the opponent's pollicis, an active electrode will be capped over the flexor aspect of the forearm just above the wrist. So this will be the position of the electrode. Patient will be well supported, patient will be comfortable. Now what we have to do, if we are using a constant voltage stimulator, so variables on the y-axis will be potential, and x-axis always same, it will be duration in milliseconds. So patient is comfortably seated on a chair and arm is supported, and then we have put the inactive electrode, and then what we'll do, we'll set the time duration knob to the maximum duration first. Means we'll put it up to 300 millisecond first, and related to that duration we'll start increasing the intensity, and we have to check the minimum visible contraction, and we'll record the corresponding variation in the current, and we'll then reduce the duration to 100 milliseconds. Means we are starting with the 300 millisecond, then gradually we will decrease the duration, and corresponding variations in the intensity of current will be recorded, and then after getting the whole readings, we'll draw the graph between the variables of x-axis and y-axis. Then alternately both the electrodes are placed on both ends of the muscle. First apply current having the longest duration and look for the minimal perceptible contraction. Be very cautious about this, because we have to record the minimal perceptible contraction. Gradually shorten the impulse duration and note the corresponding increase in current strength, and the electrode placement should not be changed throughout the test. Means if we have put the inactive electrode over the flexor aspect of the forearm, it will remain there throughout the practical, and that active electrode will be always capped over the motor point of the muscle. Then what we'll do, what are the various characteristics of strength duration curve? So basically we are knowing whether a muscle is innervated, denervated or partially innervated. So first of all we'll see the innervated muscle. So when all the nerve fibers supplying the muscles are intact, strength duration curve has shape characteristic of normally innervated muscle as shown in the figure. So we will see this graph. We have started with the maximum duration, and at this maximum duration, for example in this graph it is 1.2 milliseconds, and corresponding to this maximum duration we got the minimal perceptible voltage variation of 0.7 millivolts. Then as we are gradually decreasing the duration, this graph starts rising towards the left. So this is the characteristic graph of a normally innervated muscle. Then coming on to the next type of fiber, for denervated muscle, when all the nerve fibers supplying a muscle have degenerated, the strength duration produces characteristic of a complete denervation as shown in the figure. So for all impulses with duration 100 milliseconds or less, strength of the stimulus must be increased each time, and the duration is reduced, and no response is obtained to impulses of very short duration. So if we are talking about denervated muscle, so for very short duration we are not going to get any impulse, and then we have to increase the either we have to increase the duration or we have to increase the strength. And the curve rises steeply and is shifted the right than that of the normally innervated muscle. In this we can differentiate between the three graphs. So number 1A, this is the normal abductor digiti minimi muscle graph, and this is the normally innervated muscle graph. See this, this is parallel to the x-axis up to certain duration. Then after certain decrease in duration, we need to increase the strength of the stimulus to get the required perceptible contraction. And this graph B is of the denervated muscle. Like if we are giving stimulus at longer durations, we'll get the impulse, but as we keep on decreasing the duration, like if we have reached up to this point and below this duration, we are not going to get any graph, because at this minimum duration no muscle is able to contract with this minimal duration current. How much we increase the strength of the stimulus, it is not affected with the strength of the stimulus now. And this C graph is of the partially innervated or partially re-innervated muscle. So up to certain time we get this graph, like we have started from the larger duration to the shorter duration. So up to this level, the graph which we obtained is because of both the innervated and the denervated muscle fibers. But after this point, this is point is called the kink, and this represents the point of re-innervation. So after this graph is because of only innervated muscles, and before this kink, the graph obtained is because of both innervated and denervated muscle fiber. Then partial denervation. So for the stimulation of denervated fibers, impulses of longer durations are required, while for the stimulation of innervated fibers, impulses of shorter duration are required. And the kink produced show the partial denervation, which disappear after 10 to 20 days or after a month. So we'll look back on this graph. Like before this kink is graph is because of both innervated and denervated fibers, but after this point, this graph is of the denervation, means this is the point of denervation. After this graph is representing the innervated muscle fiber. Okay, then so this is the representation of a partially innervated muscle fiber graph. Like we can see, this is the kink, and after this graph obtained is because of the innervated muscle fibers, and this point indicates the point of denervation. Then we talk about two terms. One is Rio base and another one is the Chronaxis. So Rio base, Rio means intensity or stimulus strength, and base means the foundation. So the minimum stimulus strength that produces a response is called the Rio base, while Chronaxis means time and Xc means excess. So the stimulus duration that produces a response when the stimulus strength is set to exactly at double the Rio base. This will be more clear with the picture. Then there is one more term which is called CAP or CAP, which is compound action potential. It is actually the sum of the activity in a number of nerve fibers, and it applies to the degree of activity in a nerve trunk in which a variable proportion of nerve fibers are discharging. So actually this is an average potential. Then what is the significance of Rio base? So usually around 1 millisecond mark on the SD curve flattens out at the Rio base, and the point where a progressive increase in pulse duration is no longer associated with a progressive decrease in voltage. So in other words, for longer stimulus durations, the minimal voltage required to bring the nerve to threshold will be the Rio base. So this is the minimum voltage or minimum current required to bring the contraction. And then what is the significance of Chronaxis? For example, we are comparing two nerves. Given that two nerves have the same Rho base, the chronaxy can give an indication of their relative excitabilities. So in the SD curve, we'll see in the next picture. So in the SD curve to the right, nerve B is the more excitable nerve. Then how would the SD curve for a set of slow fibers compare to the SD curve for a set of quick fibers? So the curve for the slower fibers would be shifted to the right, indicating that for a given stimulus strength, a longer stimulus duration would be needed to bring the slower fibers to threshold. So if we there is right shifting of the graph, it is indicating a slow or less excitable fiber, and if a graph is shifted towards left, it is indicating a more excitable muscle fiber. So this was all about SD curve. So we'll rewind what is SD curve. S denotes the strength of the stimulus, D is the duration of the stimulus, and basically we are drawing this to know whether a muscle is innervated, partially innervated or denervated. This is very simple method, reliable method, but it has got two disadvantages. First, that it is not appropriate for larger muscles, and secondly, it does not show the exact site of lesion. And if we have drawn lots of SD curve, we become perfect to draw a reliable strength duration curve for a particular muscle. So I hope that this lecture will help you. Thank you so much.